John, after our 5-1 defeat by Denmark in the Aviva in the World Cup qualifier, the FAI, Martin O'Neill was trying to get the Stoke job. He was interviewed for the Stoke job. He was offered a contract by the FAI. He left it on the table for 3 months while he tried to get this job at Stoke. Then he came back and signed it. According to reports, he's on 1.9 million euros a year, which is twice, I think, again according to reports, he was on before we lost 5-1 to Denmark. Is this sustainable? The crowd booed the team off the pitch, and that is very, very rare for an Irish crowd. But they are aware of certain things that are wrong and that need to be put right. Where do you stand on that, if you stand anywhere on it?
Well, I think first of all, I mean, if the team is doing well, then the crowd are happy. The team is not doing well. If it's true that the figures are right, after the Denmark match, if you ask me, I wouldn't have given an extension to the contract at that particular time, because things weren't good, and it's proven to be a very, very difficult case now. I mean, that he's got a 2-year contract and things are going very, very badly. So if you're going to change the management, it looks like that it's going to cost an awful lot of money.
4 million.
I don't think it would.
4 million euro.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you know, but I didn't think it would. See, I think when Martin did what he did, going to talk to Everton and talk to Stoke, I mean, I think it really upset the supporters. And quite rightly too, because if you're in a job, you can't go looking at another job and say, "Well, I didn't agree terms, and so I'm coming back to us," as it were. Yeah. I can't see that being right at that particular time. Well, if you ask me, I wouldn't have given him an extension of the contract in January.
No, Liam, the figure reported is 1.9 million, and we don't know for sure, but that. If it is that, it means that after the Denmark game and the 3-month hiatus while he was looking for a job in England, he got a huge rise and a 2-year contract, and of course Roy Keane was in that package as well. It's going to cost 4 million if we're to lose these guys.
Yeah, well, I think we're missing the point here. You have to look at why that's the case. You know, the people, and this will come back to John Delaney, he's the man making these calls. He'll probably turn around and say, well, it was the board, but I think everybody pretty much knows that John Delaney is in total control there, and he's the one making the calls. And we've had now, 15 years of John?
Yep.
Since 2003. And I think the only progress that's really happened is John's career has gone up and up. You know, he's a member of the executive committee, but if you look at the Ireland situation, I think we've regressed badly. And I don't want to go into what Martin O'Neill earns. I think that's here nor there, to be quite honest, Eamon. We're just not playing well. The enthusiasm for the soccer team is on the wane, whereas the GAA are on the up. The Irish rugby team is on the up, and you know we're our poor neighbours, and you know that's really happened on John Delaney's watch.
Yeah, and John, this
well,
is where
well, I must say there, Eamon, I know John Delaney quite well. There's a lot of good things happened on his watch as well, Liam. Yep. For example, we wouldn't have the Aviva if it hadn't been for John Delaney, and we wouldn't have some of the matches coming up in the Euros if it wasn't for John Delaney. I think he made a mistake in January in giving an extension to Martin O'Neill. The 1.9, Eamon, we'd have to be sure of that. I'm not so sure whether that's the whole staff. Or what I don't know. I wouldn't be too sure about the 1.9.
No, that's why I said. That's why I said it's reported, and that's a very important caveat. It may not be that, but it's not 1 and 9pence anyway.
No, but that should be here nor there, Eamon. It's here nor there, really. You know.
Okay.
What the bigger picture is, we haven't really got any players coming through. You know.
But neither is
And
Michael
that's happened
O'Neill.
that's happened over the last 14, 15 years. And we've had 2 Dutch guys in charge of that.
Yep. Okay.
Where there is a guy, now I've said this before, where is the guy had an absolutely outstanding track record in bringing young players through, and Brian Kerr. And he's just been ignored.
Yeah, that's true, John.
Why?
Isn't it?
Because he doesn't get on with John Delaney. That's why I think that, people have got to look at John Delaney now and say, well, what kind of job has he been doing?
Yeah, John, I agree with Liam. I mean, Brian Kerr has been ostracised. He had an outstanding record at youth level, underage level, and in fact, he didn't have a bad record when he was managing the team. They just drew too many matches. But the point Liam's making is that the book.
Yeah, I know the point he's making is the young players now coming through, and it's under John Delaney's watch. Now, again, when Brian Kerr was manager of the Irish team, I criticised Brian Kerr. I think you criticised Brian Kerr. He wasn't actually doing a very, very good job. And again, you have to look back on bringing the players through. I mean, was Brian responsible for bringing all those players through? I mean, he was responsible for the underage teams doing well. But I'm not so sure that he was really responsible for bringing the players through, because all those players were playing for different clubs. Now, we do have a problem on not bringing the players through. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know if anybody knows exactly what it is, Eamon, to be quite honest.
Okay, so, Liam, where do we go from here? I mean, it's obvious that the work isn't being done on the training ground. That's one thing.
That can always start, that can always start. And O'Neill Martin was very bullish about qualifying for the Euros a month or so ago, after the last round of matches. And I think if he gets the team right and we get all our players fit, and maybe Shane Long can just unlock this problem he has playing and scoring goals. There's 53 teams in Europe, Eamon, or 53 countries playing soccer in Europe, and 24 are going to qualify.
Right.
We must have a good bloody chance, mustn't we?
Yeah. Okay.
We must have this relegation, which probably is bound to happen, is not going to help us as regards seeding. But there's lots of groups going to be drawn, and if we're lucky enough in the group, we can qualify. But things need to change, and things have got to be prepared better. And I'm talking about Martin's management, and I think players have got to play in their best positions. And if we do that, and we get off to a good start, I think we can make things look better. But for the moment, it's looking dismal, and I'm not looking forward to the game again on Monday.
No, John, just to make a last point about the players, I've certainly played in some poor Irish teams. Never one, I have to say, as poor as the one that I saw playing last night. But I mean, there was always,
I don't know about that, Eamon.
I know. Well, when you turned up, which wasn't always, that was a help. And we had Tony Dunn, who was.
Eamon, we played rubbish at that time.
No, I
Absolute
said
rubbish. Yeah.
But we always had a John Giles, a Tony Dunn, Andy McAvoy. We had Liam.
Well, I was left out of that team.
You were left out once.
Don't you remember that?
I do.
When the selection committee. One thing, I mean, we had the selection committee that time. It was the biggest joke of all time.
I remember.
And we played in. You remember? We played in some matches, Eamon, where we were awful, worse than we are at the moment.
I remember when you were dropped, and the man who replaced you was playing for Shelburne, and his name was Billy Newman, and he was a smashing lad. Yeah. And he thought it was as funny as everyone else did. But Don Revy apparently said, "Who's replacing Giles? I want to sign him." But I just want to.
We'd only just won the league at Leeds, Eamon. Don't compare. I wouldn't compare anything to our days, Eamon, playing early on in the day.
I remember, because the game you were dropped for was a game against Denmark, and I played. And I was embarrassed. But I want to make this point, and just both of you can address it. It's very, very hard for the players, all of them, to be in a situation like this. When a team is disorganised, when the crowd is on your back, especially when you're at home, it can be very, very lonely and isolating and difficult. And I don't think you'll ever find Irish lads wanting for effort. So it's important, I think, to absolve the players from the blame for this.
Oh yeah, there's never been any doubt, Eamon, that the players ever, especially since we got rid of the blooming committee years and years ago, and in recent times, whether it be Big Jack, Trapattoni, Martin O'Neill, I've never seen the players not have a go.
Yeah.
Ever. They haven't always played well, even the other night, but there was none of them that you could accuse of not having a go. Definitely.
Now, and Liam, it is lonely, isn't it, and difficult, especially at home.
When you're not confident, when you're not, structured, you don't really know what you're expected to do, and I think that's what needs to change. I think that is the lesson that we can learn from last night. With where Michael O'Neill's side were very, very comfortable, very, very confident in how they were set up, and we need to get to that place quickly. Yeah,
and John, just a last word on Michael. He's done a brilliant job with his team, hasn't he?
Yeah, excellent. You're talking about the players not coming through. I mean, where's the great players coming through for Northern Ireland?
Exactly.
But they're still playing well.
Yep. Okay.
That's the thing.
Okay, John and Liam, thank you both very much for joining us. I'm thinking of Billy Newman, God love him. He said to me when we met up before that game, he said, I'm getting 2 caps this week, and one me first and me last. Anyway, John,
he was a nice lad. He was a nice lad, actually.
He was a very, very nice lad. Yeah, he was indeed. Okay.